Okay, we have two speakers on the stage next. We have Anasuya and Siko, who are co-founders of Whose Knowledge, and the title of their talk is How to Build an Internet with us and not for us. Anasuya and Siko.
Wow, after that, hey?
It's a good one to follow. I'm Anasuya Sengupta. I grew up in India in an upper caste, middle class family of many languages. I've been active in feminist and social justice movements most of my life. But I only learned what it is to be a woman of color 10 years ago, when I first moved to the United States in 2007. That's when I suddenly felt invisible and unheard in a way I'd never known before.
And I'm Siko Bouterse. I grew up in the United States in a family which didn't have much money or stability, but with lots of variety. My father is from the Netherlands, and one of my sisters is Brazilian. In 2006, I became an online community organizer because I felt that the internet had this amazing potential to connect us across worlds, around languages and borders. And I'm also the mother of a 7-year-old. I worry every day that she's growing up in a world full of unconscious stereotypes and unchallenged privilege.
Wait, reverse that.
Oh, hey, I'm Anasuya.
And I'm Siko. And together we run a campaign called Whose Knowledge that's focused on reimagining an open and free internet built by and with marginalized communities around the world.
So we decided to swap identities a bit for this day because we wanted to enter a room sort of with each other's shadows rather than our own.
I wore the sari.
I wore the hoodie.
And we'll see who gets trolled harder this time.
When I'm a minority in a room, either as a woman or a brown person, or that astonishing combination, a brown woman from the global south, I sometimes feel invisible. Or even worse, I walk into a room and feel that the assumptions and stereotypes about me enter the room before me, like a shadow in front of me rather than behind.
I sometimes feel that way too. And there's a lot that people think that they know about us or can dismiss about us based on our whiteness or our brownness, our genders, our accents. And depending what room we're entering, sometimes I'll be taken more seriously.
And I'll disappear.
Or vice versa. That's one of the reasons our friendship works so well. We can take turns being seen and making space for each other.
So I introduced Siko at international women's rights conferences in which, let's be honest, her being American can be a huge red flag for some folks.
And I introduce Anasuya at Silicon Valley meetings in which people might otherwise assume she's my user experience story instead of the creator of our campaign.
So, look at that. We're here to talk today about how today's internet is being built for a majority by a minority.
And how we can be friends and allies in creating a more inclusive and plural internet, an internet that we build all together.
So, we met 5 years ago working together at the Wikimedia Foundation, the nonprofit that operates Wikipedia. We were there because we believe in the power of free knowledge, and we believe in the power of open source and open culture communities to build a better internet. As the 5th most visited website in the world, Wikipedia is where so many of us go for information, and we want that information to be the sum of all knowledge.
We love Wikipedia. And yet, like a lot of things we love, we also see the bugs and cracks in Wikipedia and in the broader internet, and we want to make it better.
So we're Wikipedians, and we're social justice hackers. That's why we created Whose Knowledge together.
One of the first things that concerned me about Wikipedia was its gender gaps. Only about 1 in 10 of the volunteers who write Wikipedia are women. And we don't even have stats for the number of transgender or non-binary contributors, but make no mistake, they do exist. So much like the print encyclopedias that we grew up reading, remember those? Some humans are still deciding what information to include about all humans.
So one of my first concerns was Wikipedia's global gap. only 20% of the world, primarily white folks from Europe and North America, are editing 80% of Wikipedia's content. That's kind of telling. Together, we realize that most of our collective understanding of the world, our online public knowledge, is still being written by a minority.
Now, we're not here to pick on this minority, okay? We're glad that there are white men who have laid the foundations for Wikipedia and really for the broader internet.
Hey, some of them are our best friends. At the same time, we know that when you walk into a room and who you are will shape what you create, no matter how neutral or unbiased you may be. That's true for all of us. Whether it's a line of code or a picture, your experiences, your many, many selves shape your work.
Mike Connolly Misquish is a member of the Kumeyaay Nation. That's a Native American group whose lands stretch across what I know of as Southern California to northern Mexico. Mike and I sat down recently to look at the Wikipedia article on the California Gold Rush. Now, as a white American, most of what I learned growing up about the gold rush is all boom and bust opportunity and like railroads and whorehouses or something. But for Mike, the gold rush was a systematic, state-sponsored genocide of his indigenous people, and he can point to the legislation to back that up. Guess which picture the Wikipedia article showed? Yep, it's the one on the left with white people under attack by those pesky Indians. That's the first thing Mike noticed. We changed it to the one on the right, the one where settlers are pointing guns at the Indians. And it's not really an accident that the Gold Rush article looked like that before Mike got there, because who we are has an impact on what we create.
But we're not just picking on Wikipedia. The broader internet works like that too. Half of the world's population is online today.
Nearly half of those are women or transgender or non-binary.
And 3/4 of the online population is from, wait for it, the global south, Asia, Africa, Latin America. And so when tech companies are busy preparing for that emerging markets future, hello, we're already here. So who is building the technologies that we use and the content that we consume?
Now, often when we bring this up, people like to offer some helpful explanations about why the internet just is the way it is. Anasuya co-wrote an op-ed in The Guardian recently talking about some of these issues. And the comments and the trolling that she got was fascinating.
Educational. Painful.
Strangers on the internet called our work ridiculous.
Or rubbish.
Or worse, but thankfully The Guardian moderated those. They also said things like,
as for biographies of Nigerian women, it is up to Nigerian women to write about them. Wikipedia is full of biographies of white Westerners because white Westerners got off their asses and wrote about white Westerners.
But Anasuya, you've gotten off your blooming Global South ass and written Wikipedia, right?
So my ass tells me, Siko. In 2014, I decided to write my first ever Wikipedia article about a Nigerian feminist, Bisi Adeleye Fayemi. Bisi is well known because she started the first Pan-African Foundation for Women's Human Rights. But more importantly, for Wikipedians, she's written about extensively in newspapers and online sources. So I wrote a starter article of 7 lines, 11 references. Guess how long it took before someone decided Bisi's article should be deleted? Any guesses? 5 minutes. You must have been on my talk page. 5 minutes is what it took for someone on the internet to say that Bisi wasn't notable enough, that the Nigerian sources weren't reliable enough to be in Wikipedia. So Bisi was about to be invisible once again. That may be why we don't get off our bloomin' arses, because sometimes when we do, our contributions are immediately erased.
But don't worry, this story has a happy ending. Because of a friend, an ally, Bisi is still visible.
At the time I wrote about Bisi, I was in Johannesburg at the first ever Wiki Indaba, a gathering of Wikimedians from across Africa. I was sitting next to Florence, a French Wikipedian who happens to have been editing since 2001 with a great reputation, lots of experience arguing on Wikipedia. And she was furious about what happened. She helped me make the case for keeping BC's article. And because of Florence, now Nigerian women can read about BC, and so can Siko's daughter, sitting in California.
Working together, we bring different skills, different perspectives, different amounts of power and privilege, depending which room we're stepping into.
So, one of the oppressive privileges that I hold is that of a Savarna, an upper caste woman in India, where over 200 million Dalits, those formerly known as untouchables, still can't share their histories and knowledges. And so, as allies of the Dalits, Siko and I organized an editathon. That's a Wikipedia hackathon where we edit Wikipedia together, earlier in April.
At the editathon, Jake, a longtime Wikipedian, helped Selvi, a newbie editor from the Dalit community, to write a Wikipedia article about Grace Banu. Now, Grace is the first Dalit transgender woman to be admitted to an engineering college in Tamil Nadu. Jake was so inspired that he wanted to do more. So that night, he found Grace on Twitter. He told her about the editathon, and he asked for her permission to include a picture of her in the Wikipedia article.
Grace is now an inspiration, a visible inspiration to all of us, not just to Dalit and trans friends, but to Jake, to Siko, and to me.
Being allies and showing up to support each other is a little like exchanging identities for a bit. It's useful to try on another's perspective, to wear the metaphorical sari or the hoodie, and to understand what it looks like to look and be different. It can feel uncomfortable and kind of weird, but we're stronger together as a result.
So, if you're a white male techie at Mozilla, you are building software and hardware that you want the majority of the world to use. So ask yourselves, how are 15-year-olds in Burkina Faso or Brazil using the internet or seeing themselves online? Possibly mostly through apps, not really through the browser. Oops. So let's build tools together. They know more about apps and bandwidth and language localizations than many of us do sitting in London or San Francisco. And let's have them on our teams, because that makes our work even stronger. But most importantly, let's not see them as unidimensional UI experiments. They're whole people with whole histories and whole knowledges, just like you and me.
If you're a parent, or really if you have kids in your life of any age or gender, you probably care about what kinds of role models they're able to see online. Push and challenge your kids and their friends to read about and see pictures of amazing, incredible, inspiring people who might or might not look just like them. It's harder to imagine what we can't see. So let's keep asking whose perspectives and whose knowledge is represented in the information they encounter online, whether it's about women in science or the California Gold Rush or really anything else.
So, if you're a Nigerian woman or an Indonesian or an Argentinian, thank you, because we know you work in some really challenging environments. And we know that you have a central role in building an inclusive internet. Just as an example, many of Google's searches take off from Wikipedia because it's the biggest free and open database we have. And so what's best and worst about Wikipedia gets amplified on what's best and worst of Google. So when you write or you share your worlds online, you're making both Wikipedia and Google better.
At the same time, you don't carry the burden of this work alone. Be assured that you have others cheering you on and that what you write or share has meaning.
And let's assume good faith and be generous in our own allyship. Let's not reduce the white man to a unidimensional enemy, just as we don't want them to reduce us to a UI experiment.
To build a healthier internet, we need to make unlikely friends and allies with folks who have different shadows.
So there's a hackathon or a Wikipedia editathon somewhere near or not so near you.
And new and better forms of the internet are being built there.
So Let's build an internet with each other, not for each other.
Thank you.